So this is a continuation of the tables video, and what we're going to do now is we're going to actually work from our Circuit City employee little evaluation form that we created. And what I'm going to do here is I wanted to discuss a few things that if you didn't know, you will find out if you have some issues about having not enough rows or you need to put a row in. If I come over here and I hit enter, it will, obviously make my tab greater. But if I come over and I hit, let's try this again, and I hit enter, if I don't click in the cell because it's going to make the cell longer, what you want to do is click right out here along the edge. If you hit enter, you'll add another row. So if you need another row that way, you can just click on the outside here and hit enter, and it will give you more rows. The other thing that you can do is if you go off to the side, notice how your arrow changes to a different arrow like this. This arrow right here, if we click and select that row and I right mouse click, I can insert a row here so that if I needed another row somewhere in here, I could get it that way. So if I click off, you'll notice that I have that blank row. I'm going to undo that. And the same way with a column. The problem is when we start working with columns and we start merging things, we end up with some real issues here. And so we want to be real careful, because once we start merging, we don't have a clearly defined column going all the way down. So it becomes much more difficult for us to insert columns and rows. That's why I said before, be real careful when you're ready to merge. Make sure everything's set up, because once you start merging cells or rows, it really can screw up your spreadsheet. Okay, so we're going to take this spreadsheet out and we're going to put the spreadsheet in an Excel spreadsheet now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and select all of this. I'm going to hit Control C, and I'm going to come over to my unopened, this is my Open Office calculator. I'm going to click in the first cell, and I'm just going to hit Control V, and notice that it pasted everything exactly how I wanted it. My merged cells are still merged, my font and all my facing is still the same, and my numbers are in cells, which is great and perfect for us, because this is what we really need right now. We really need to have our cells be what they should be. I want you to come off to the side, and right here we're going to type in totals. And what I want you to do is I want you to total out, click out, there we go. I want you to total the items across so that you have a clear idea of what is off, what the totals are, so that you can see what the totals are for every item sold. And the easiest way to do that is if I type in, we always start our formula with equals. So if I come over here, I can do an auto sum. This is the auto sum key here. So if I click here and I click auto sum, now you'll see this in Excel the exact same way, but it'll be here up in your toolbar. If I click this, it's going to try and sum the items closest to where I want it to sum. And we're close. We're getting real close, because I do want this, but I want all of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make this larger. Okay, and I'm going to hold the Control key and I'm going to grab this and just drag across. Okay, so I get them. What's happening here is that it's giving me dual calculations. It's trying to do two things, and I don't want that. I'm going to just go ahead and let's start all over again. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to click here, hit the auto sum, and I'm going to hold my shift key down so that what I'm doing is dragging it across. Okay. Auto sum usually will sum all the way over until, say, this part here, till we get to this days off, but in this case it's not going to do that. So I'm just going to highlight all of this and say D4 through H4 is the total that I want, and it is. You'll notice that there's a colon, a semicolon right here, and what that means is this is shorthand for D4 plus E4 plus F4 plus G4 plus H4. So really that's nice, because that gives us the ability to get rid of all of that other plus this, plus that, plus this, and it takes out the opportunity for error, which is important. So hit enter, and there's my totals. So now once I've gotten my total here, I have a couple of things that I can do. Oh, I noticed it didn't merge our cells. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. And all we have to do is, you'll notice in OpenOffice this is merge cells, so you do that. And the same way here. And we'll go back and we'll format those in a minute. But anyway, back to this. What you can do is grab this and drag it down, and you will get the formula for each one of these rows. Now this is great because now we don't have, once we've done it correctly, and we know it's correct here because let's look at it again, equals sum, we're adding everything, D4 through H4. We know that's correct, so if I go to the next row, it's D5, the next row is D6, and the next row starts with D8, or D7 and D8. I could do that going all the way down, but the problem is we have different days off for every individual. So you want to make sure that you pay attention to that. So you'll have to do a different one for each one. So if I click here and I hit auto sum, I don't want to auto sum that. I'm going to click here, hold the left mouse key down, drag across, and I want to make sure that these are correct, so I drag them across. B10 through F10, because remember we have these days off in here that we have to account for. Hit enter, and currently there's not anything there, okay? But I'm just going to drag it down. Now, if once we start putting things in there, you'll notice that those numbers are changing, okay? So if I put in 3 here, or 3 here, and 2 of these, and I start clicking around, you'll notice that my totals over here start changing. That's perfect. If I didn't have to worry about this merge cell or these days off, I could just click and drag this equation all the way down and it would be fine. You'll see though that's what we're going to do when we get to the big totals, and we want all of these items totaled down. So we have singular items totaled for the week. Here's TV, so if I went to what I want you to do next is we'll take in this evaluation form and we'll say how many TVs were sold for the week. We'll put stereos, we'll put VCRs, and what we're going to do is we're going to take the totals for each one of these and put them in this calculation over here, but we'll do that in a minute. But right now what I want you to do is we're going to go down to the bottom here, and I want totals across the bottom as well, because I want to know how many items were sold per day. And that's, again, remember those questions I asked you for the first assignment and the tables assignment? Well, we're going to get that. We're going to get these totals. We're going to find out what the best days were for selling items, what the worst days were, and we'll be able to go through and see if we can glean that information, if there really is a good day or a bad day for items sold. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to pick a day where I think that there's no one off. And it really doesn't matter, because one of the things that happens when we do this is because there's not going to be anything there, it's not going to matter. But I'm going to go ahead and pick Wednesday. I'm going to come here and I'm going to hit the auto sum again, but this time I'm going to come in, I'm going to grab this first bit of information, I'm going to hold the control key down. I need to skip this merge cell because okay, so what we're going to do now is look for sales for the day. I'm going to take that off and come over here and get rid of this because I don't want you to know how to do that yet. What we're going to do is total now the days that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, every day of the week, we're going to total those sales. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say sales total. And then I'm going to pick Wednesday. I don't think there's a day off, but it really, I don't think there's a day off on Wednesday, but I could be wrong. With these number of employees, there could very well be a day off. And what I'm going to do is auto sum down here. I'm going to grab the auto sum. And I'm going to select what it is I do want to auto sum. So I'm going to select the first grouping, and you'll notice that right down here it says D28 through D32, and it's just because I selected it going up. If I selected it going down, it would be the opposite way. Anyway, I'm going to hold the control key down and I'm going to select the next set of information. I want to skip this merge cell and I'm going to select the next set, and notice that it keeps adding it to it. So I'm going to move my window up I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to select that. I'm going to come down, check my calculations, D22 through D26, and it should be, you should notice that there's 4 in between there. If that's correct, I hit enter and notice that it gives me 4, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, which is correct. So if I go down to stereo, I put a 3 in there, and I put a 3 in DVDs and a 3 in satellites. Notice that it goes ahead and it changes that info for me. I'm going to just take that out because your information you want is going to be set up differently. I'm going to go ahead and go back here, put all my little lines back in. Okay, so now that I have this selected and I know this calculation's right, I'm going to drag it across this way, and that's just grabbing that little black box right there in the corner and dragging it across. And I look and I see that it's calculating everything for me, including it's leaving out the days off. There's no calculation there, so it can't calculate very well for those. And I go across this way and it does the same calculation. Again, remember, grab that little black box, hold it down with the left mouse key, and drag across. What it's doing, well, let's try this again because I took it out. Drag across, and we've got our calculation. What it's doing is it's shifting now columns. Remember when we shifted rows here, we went and the columns were all the same, but the rows were different. Well, in this case, the rows are all the same, but now it's shifting columns. So my calculation is correct based on the column shifting. So we saw that in 2 different ways then. We saw how this shifted with each row, and then this calculation down here shifted with each column. Okay, the next thing I want you to do now is I want you to total out TVs for me. We're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to say TVs sold, and I want the number right there. So what I'm going to do is I can do this a couple of ways. I can go in and say equals sum, because we want to add them, and then I can come and select hold the shift or the control key down, and I can go through and I can select what cells I want my calculation to take into account. So I've gotten I've selected 28, 22, 16, 10, and then finally 4. So do I have that 4, 10, 16, 22, and 28? I sure do. I hit enter and it says, ooh, what happened? What happened? Well, what happened was I forgot to put the parentheses in, and you've got to put the parentheses in. Otherwise, this just isn't going to work. It freaks out. It gives you an error. It says, wait, stop. I hit enter, and sure enough, there it is. And we know that 3 and 3 and 4 equal 10. If I take this out, it automatically changes that number. So when I go in and all this is filled in, it should give me the right totals. Another way we could do that, let's do it for stereos. Oops. Gosh darn it. Let's do it for stereos. And I'm going to do the same thing, only this time I'm going to hit the auto sum. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say I want this one selected, this one selected. I want hold the control key down. This one selected, this one selected, and then finally I want this one selected. We want to make sure that this is 29, 23, 17, 11, and 5, and sure enough, there it is. I hit enter and it did the same thing. The only thing that AutoSum does is it puts the equation in there for me already, so that when I come here, notice that the function's already set up, my parentheses are already set up, and now I just need to go in and put in what it is I'm looking to do. In this case, let's say we're going to do the VCR, so I click here, hold the control key down, grab here, and just make sure that you're doing the right selection, hit enter, and we see that there's only one because nothing was sold this day and we don't have any more information here. Go ahead and label it. Notice, ooh, great feature, tells us it's spelled wrong, which is important. This is just like using Word or using OpenOffice. Solds, that's incorrect, sold. VCRs, and the S should be after that. Sold. Okay, so we have stereo sold, TV sold. In this case, don't worry about the squiggly line because we know it's spelled correctly. What I want you to do now is total out. So get your totals for items across. Get your total items per item. TVs, stereos, VCRs, DVDs, and satellites. And then get your total sales for the day right here. So make sure that we know that this is total sales for the day. When this happens, notice this little red triangle here. What that means is there's more information there. So we're just going to go ahead and click that and move that over so that it shows. And then the little red triangle goes away. When you go to save this, make sure that you go File, Save As. And I want you to save this as Circuit City. Circuit City, let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, your last name. Last name underscore Circuit City. Okay, go ahead and save that in your folder and make sure that it's Circuit City underscore, your last name underscore Circuit City, and put that in your file. Now you can change the file format if you want to. I have OpenOffice. Don't save it as Vista. You won't be able to. If you're doing this in Excel, you want to make sure that you save it either as 93, 97, XP, most preferably XP, but not Vista. Okay, if you have any questions, email me, give me a call, or make an office hour and come by and see me. Hope this helped you out.